Well, greetings once again, literature lovers, and welcome to today's installment of Literary Devices of the Stars. So, what are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about allusion. So, allusion then is from the Latin alludere, meaning to hint at. And so this is something that implicitly or explicitly references something real or fictional that is external to the work at hand. So a poem alludes to something outside itself. A play does the same thing. Television show does the same thing. Movies do the same thing. Okay, so again, something external to the work under consideration. So this could be people, it could be events, historical or otherwise, places, or another artistic work. All right, so that's generally called a literary allusion. So what's the function of allusion? It enables writers or poets to simplify complex ideas and emotions quickly and effectively. It also, if you're talking about things from a, say, a rhetorical perspective, it is an example of an ethos appeal. So again, trying to narrow the distance between the rhetor and the audience. But in a work of fiction, it acts as a means of communication. So the power of the allusion then lies in the connotations associated with the whatever's being alluded to. Okay, so the function specifically affects a connection between the author, his work, and the audience, or her work and the audience. Establishes or reinforces the tone of a passage. Characterizes either the speaker or the subject of a dramatic exchange. It could be happening on stage or what have you. Serves to link a particular scene in the work to the overall work's central impulse or thematic concerns, and it enriches the work at hand. So again, those connotations serve as an aesthetic dimension, because when the audience gets the allusion, and the same that they would say get a joke, there is sort of this there's that reward complex that happens when you realize that something is more than it appears to be. Okay. All right, so what then creates an effective allusion? I've got a picture here of Romanian author Andrei Codrescu. So depending on the author's purpose, the allusion is most references are typically to subjects known to a general audience, or the audience that the writer is targeting. So think of that as a common denominator between writer and audience, but also these can be allusions to little known works, people, events, or to appeal to a highly specialized knowledge. So the reason I reference Codrescu is because when he was writing under Soviet-controlled Romania, he had to be careful about the things that he said. So allusions to things that his audience would know about that might elude the censors, and even if the censors, hauled him in because they suspected there was something more than meets the eye and to something he had alluded to, he can just claim, like, I meant that literally. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. All right. So the 5 basic types then are topical, personal, metaphorical, imitative, and structural. So what then is a topical allusion? So this is referring to current events or those associated with the culture at large. These are broadly understood as happening sort of in the moment. All right, so this could be books, movies, music, television, politics, you name it. Again, anything outside the work itself. So although this is not exactly a topical allusion, because it's 2022 and this happened 7 years ago, it's a good one. So in 2015 in December, Steve Harvey, pictured here, was the MC for the Miss America pageant. It got down to announcing who the winner was, and he misidentified the winner. And so, of course, a huge blunder. He ended up sort of being relieved of his duties for several years thereafter. But T-Mobile took advantage of just how well known and horrifying was this screw up, and had contracted with Steve Harvey to appear in one of their commercials in which he is like making fun of himself, which I thought was great. It's a great commercial. If you want to look it up, you'll see it. Okay, so the personal allusion refers to an author's own biography. And so, given my note here, Shakespeare often references his childhood in Stratford and his father's trade as a tanner by using terms related to gloves and glove making. His father was a master glove maker, as well as by employing Warwickshire vernacular in his plays. So here's an example from Romeo and Juliet, where Mercutio talks about a wit of cheverel that stretches from an inch narrow to an ell broad. So cheverel is the French term for kid skin. And so an ell is 45 inches wide, okay? So the idea that, that something can stretch from 1 inch to 45 inches wide then is a marvelous allusion there to give perspective to something. Okay, so a metaphorical allusion uses the reference that's made as a vehicle, okay, for the poetic tenor it acquires in the new context. So if you're not familiar with the way that I.A. Richards breaks down a metaphor into the tenor, vehicle, and ground, then hey, go watch my presentation on figures of speech, and you'll get more information than you ever wanted on that particular topic. So here's my example. So when class is over, I'm going to be out of here faster than Cam after his Super Bowl 50 presser. Okay, so to explain the allusion is this, that Cam Newton was the he was the MVP for the season in which the Super Bowl took place, and the team he played for, the Carolina Panthers, they were the most productive offense in the league. Okay, so on that particular Super Bowl, they got waxed by the Denver Broncos, led by 97-year-old Peyton Manning. So in this Super Bowl, Cam threw for he was 18 for 41, threw for 265 yards, which is still respectable, but way under his normal production. No touchdowns, an interception, got sacked 6 times for minus 64 yards. Okay, so what ended up happening is that all NFL players are expected, and especially stars like this guy, are expected to attend the post-game press conference and answer all the questions. Well, you can imagine the kind of questions that your boy Cam got, mostly around the theme of what happened. Okay, so so you can see him there in his hoodie. He was just squirming around, like these monosyllabic answers, whatever, and people are starting to, like, you can tell that the local press is trying to be sweet to him, but everybody else starts to, like, lean in. And so after about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, he just gets up and walks off. Okay, so it was the beautiful definition of petulant child in particular. All right, so then an imitative allusion parodies another work of literature, and by parody we don't mean to make fun of or satirize, but we're talking about a sustained reference to a well-known work of literature. Okay, so my example here is that Jeremy Collins's 2014 article that appeared in SB Nation called 13 Ways of Looking at Greg Maddux parodies Wallace Stevens' well-known poem 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. All right, so then our next type is a structural allusion. So this mirrors the structure of another work. So James Joyce's Ulysses mirrors the Odyssey as a good example of that. So here are a couple of examples of allusions. So the first one here from January of 2016. So this is Tom Jones. He says, here's the problem with the Bucs, that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's not that they fire coaches every couple of years, it's that they hire the wrong ones every couple of years. And each change is made with all the elegance and dexterity of a toddler wielding a chainsaw. For that, thank Joel Bryan and Edward Glazer, the Mo, Larry, and Curly of NFL owners. So we're not gonna unpack the beauty of that of the elegance and dexterity of a toddler wielding a chainsaw and all its hyperbolic power. But the allusion is to the Three Stooges that you see pictured up and to the right. So they were a comedy trio from the sort of mid 20th century. and their hallmark was physical farce and slapstick. Okay, so by alluding to them, okay, this characterizes these wealthy NFL owners as comic buffoons. So here's the tenor is the Glazer brothers, the vehicle is the Three Stooges, and the ground is a group of moronic bunglers who are not to be taken seriously. Okay, all right. So now here's an allusion that was used by Malcolm X. The black man in Africa had mastered the arts and sciences. He knew the course of the stars in the universe before the man up in Europe knew that the earth wasn't flat. Okay, so so the above design is on the ceiling of Senenmut's tomb. So this is 15th century BCE, and is the oldest astronomical presentation known in Egypt. So the purpose of making that allusion to an ancient Egyptian astronomer serves both to establish the African people as intellectual and forward thinking, and to portray those of Northern European descent, as in white people, as ignorant and narrow-minded. Okay, so so those are my examples there for you. I hope you enjoyed this this presentation, and as usual, if you have questions, then just hit me up. Peace.